Welcome to Daily Flashpoint, your trusted source for today's biggest international headlines. The Pentagon reports that nearly 100 US service members have been injured over the past 2 weeks as military operations against Iran continue. Following a deadly weekend for American forces, President Donald Trump promises a strong response against Iran. We break down the facts, explain why these developments matter, and provide balanced coverage of the world's most important stories. Nearly 100 US troops injured in 2 weeks as Pentagon reports rising toll. The conflict between the United States and Iran continues to intensify, with the Pentagon revealing that nearly 100 American service members have been injured over the past 2 weeks as military operations across the Middle East enter another dangerous phase. According to US defense officials, most of the injuries occurred during repeated Iranian missile and drone attacks targeting American military installations and personnel stationed across the region. While many of the injuries were described as minor, others required evacuation for medical treatment, highlighting the growing risks faced by US forces. The latest comes as the United States maintains a sustained air campaign against Iranian military infrastructure. US Central Command says the strikes are intended to reduce Iran's ability to launch attacks against American forces, regional partners, and international shipping routes. Military officials say the operations have focused on facilities linked to missile production, drone launch sites, surveillance systems, command centers, and logistics hubs believed to support Iran's military activities. However, the conflict has also taken a heavy toll on American personnel. Earlier this week, the Pentagon confirmed that 2 US service members were killed while defending against Iranian missile and drone attacks in Jordan. Another American service member remains missing as search operations continue. The latest casualties bring the number of US personnel killed since the conflict escalated to 16, while more than 400 have reportedly been wounded since the fighting began. Meanwhile, Iran says the US bombing campaign has caused significant civilian and infrastructure damage. Iranian officials report casualties, widespread power disruptions, and damage to transportation and water facilities, although those figures have not been independently verified. The fighting has also heightened concerns over regional stability. Neighboring countries, including Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, remain on high alert as missile and drone attacks continue to threaten military bases, airports, ports, and critical infrastructure. Beyond the battlefield, global markets are closely monitoring developments. The Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important maritime trade routes, remains under increasing pressure. Around 1/5 of the world's seaborne oil passes through the narrow waterway, meaning any prolonged disruption could affect energy supplies, shipping costs, and fuel prices worldwide. International leaders continue to urge restraint, warning that further escalation could draw additional countries into the conflict and create wider economic consequences far beyond the Middle East. For now, the Pentagon says US forces remain fully operational despite the growing number of casualties and continue carrying out missions across the region. Military commanders have also reinforced defensive measures at bases housing American troops in anticipation of further attacks. As both Washington and Tehran continue military operations with no immediate signs of de-escalation, the situation remains one of the most serious security crises in the Middle East in recent years. Trump vows retaliation after deadly weekend for US troops. The conflict between the United States and Iran entered another dangerous phase after one of the deadliest weekends for American forces since the war began earlier this year. President Donald Trump has vowed a forceful response following the deaths of additional US service members, warning that Iran would face severe consequences for attacks on American troops. In a statement posted on his Truth Social platform, President Trump declared that every time an American soldier is killed, Iran would pay many times over. He also said he had instructed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Daniel Kaine to ensure that the directive was carried out. The remarks came after the number of U.S. military personnel killed during the conflict reportedly rose to 17 over the weekend. U.S. officials also said that the remains of another service member were being examined as authorities worked to determine the circumstances surrounding the death. Among the latest casualties were 2 American service members who were killed during an Iranian missile and drone attack targeting U.S. personnel stationed in Jordan. The attack has renewed concerns about the vulnerability of American forces deployed across the Middle East. Military officials say the conflict has become increasingly complex, with Iranian missile strikes, drone attacks, and proxy operations stretching across multiple countries where U.S. forces are based. The Pentagon also released updated figures on casualties sustained during the fighting. According to defense officials, approximately 100 U.S. service members have been injured since July 7th alone. The Pentagon said that about 96% of those injured have already returned to active duty after receiving medical treatment. Officials added that the majority of injuries were considered minor, including blast-related trauma, concussions, and other non-life-threatening wounds. However, the growing number of casualties highlights the increasing operational risks facing U.S. personnel throughout the region. Overall, Pentagon data indicates that roughly 430 American service members have been injured since the conflict began. Defense officials have not clarified whether the latest 100 injuries are included within that overall total or represent additional cases. The war has already produced several high-profile attacks on U.S. military facilities. In March, 6 American service members were killed after an Iranian drone struck a U.S. military installation at Port Shuaibah in Kuwait. That attack marked one of the deadliest single incidents involving U.S. forces during the conflict and prompted Washington to strengthen air defenses at several regional bases. Since then, the United States has expanded its military campaign, carrying out repeated strikes against what it describes as Iranian missile sites, drone launch facilities, command centers, surveillance systems, and military infrastructure. U.S. Central Command says those operations are intended to reduce Iran's ability to threaten American forces, regional allies, and international shipping routes. Iran, meanwhile, maintains that its military actions are a response to ongoing U.S. airstrikes and has accused Washington of escalating the conflict through continued attacks on Iranian territory and infrastructure. If you enjoy clear, well-researched international news, subscribe to Daily Flashpoint and turn on notifications for daily updates.